Good evening, Honors Algebra. This is the flipped lesson for November 10th. Today's lesson should be pretty simple. We're going to quickly mention that we know how to graph using a t-table, right? A t-table, where we could plug some values for x and y into an equation and get their answers out. We also use a t-table when we're doing the intercept method, right? Intercept method. That's where we specifically, in our t-table, we plug 0 in for x, get out a y value. We plug 0 in for y, get out an x value. And then we can draw our line. We can actually figure out our slope that way too. We also know how to graph using slope y-intercept method. And that looks like y equals mx plus b. Okay, we plot our y-intercept, we use our slope, our rise over our run. Okay, and the most recent form was standard form. And when we were in standard form, we know that is ax plus by equals c. When we're in that form, the slope can be found by doing negative a over b. We know the x-intercept is found by doing c over a. And then the y-intercept is found by doing c divided by b. Of course, in the x-intercept, it is assumed that the y-coordinate is 0. And on the y-intercept, it is assumed that the x-coordinate is 0. We also remember that for standard form, our a coefficient must be positive. Today we're going to learn a new type of equation, a new form, and this is called point-slope form. And point-slope form comes directly from our slope equation. Remember, our slope equation is m equals x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And that, of course, is under y sub 2 minus y sub 1. Now, if you look up point slope form in your textbook, they're not going to use the 2's and the 1's. So I'm just going to rewrite this m formula, this slope formula, like this. I'm going to write y minus y sub 1. And then x minus x sub 1. And then I'm going to pause for a minute and say, you know, if I had an equation like 1/2 x equals 7, what could I do to get rid of that fraction? Well, hopefully you can tell me that I should multiply both sides of the equation by 2 over 1. On the right-hand side, I'm only going to do by 2 because there is no fraction over there. And my 2's will cancel, and I'll get x will equal 14. Simple enough. Well, check this out. In this blue version of the slope equation, oh no, where'd it go? Come on back. I'm going to try to get rid of my fraction. Well, that means I'm going to multiply each side of the equation by x minus x sub 1 over 1. And on this side, I will write it as x minus x sub 1 in a quantity. Now, when I do that, those cancel out, and I'm left with m times the quantity of x minus x sub 1, and that'll equal y minus y sub 1. Now, for comfort value, I'm just going to flip sides of the equation. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x sub 1. If you have an equation written in this form, you know some pretty cool things. First of all, I'll bet you can tell me that you know this. This would be the slope. The number in front of the quantity. You actually also know a point. You know the x-coordinate of the point, And over here, you know the y coordinate. So if I give you an equation in this form, you should be able to graph very easily because you can find a point and the slope. Let's take a look at one. Y minus 5 equals 2/3 times the quantity of x plus 4. Well, I know your hands are going up all over the place. That is, if you were in the classroom with me, you could all tell me the slope was 2/3. Not because it's the fraction, but because it's the number in front of the quantity over on the right-hand side. That's why it's the slope. It's sitting in the position of the slope when I'm in point slope form, which again is this guy right here. All right, I also know a point. The point I know, the x-coordinate, is -4. The y-coordinate is +5. The signs did change there. I did not make a mistake. You see, in point slope form, it's y minus y sub 1. Well, I'm subtracting y sub 1, right? That means y sub 1 must be a plain old 5, y sub 1. In the quantity on the right, it's x minus x sub 1. Well, I have a plus sign there. That must mean that I did x minus -4, and then the negatives change to positive to get me x plus 4. That's why the 4 is negative, because it was a negative originally. One more time. It would be x minus whatever x sub 1 is. Well, if x sub 1 is -4, then those would change to x plus 4. So you see, this is the value of x sub 1. Now that I have the point and the slope, I could plot the point, rise and run, get my graph. Real easy. Let's try another one. Let's say we have the equation y plus 3 equals 4 times the quantity of x minus 6. Well, I know James is going, oh my gosh, this is so simple. My slope, 4. As a fraction, 4/1. But 4 is certainly acceptable slope. My point, x-coordinate, I change the sign, 6. My y-coordinate, I change the sign, -3. I have the point, I have the slope. Now I'm good to graph. I don't think I need to demonstrate the graphing. I will on the next one just for the sake of it, but I think you can do it just fine. Oh, by the way, I do want to mention my first period class, hopefully my third period class, I haven't seen them yet today, caught a mistake in the video. In November 9th's video, when I calculated the slope of the orange line, I believe I put -3/1. I actually have my rise and run flipped. It should be 1/-3 or -1/+3, a -1/3 in other words. I apologize for that. Thank you guys for catching the mistake. All right, so let's try this one. Let's say our equation is y plus 6 equals -2 times the quantity of x minus 5. I'm going to go ahead and get a sheet of graph paper out here. You can pause the video and do that if you haven't done it already. And let me see, I need to scroll. Now, I'm just going to go, you go ahead and pause, see if you can find the slope and the point. I'm going to go ahead and put the point on, and then I will use my slope. You see if you agree with what I'm doing. So go ahead and pause. You can see here that I've plotted the point 5, -6. That is my point. 5, -6. Now I'll use my slope and I'll rise and run. Go ahead and pause if you haven't already done that. If you have, that's fine. And there I use a slope of -2/1 and got several other points. I'll draw my line in. And I'll make sure it looks like a line. And there it is. It's that simple. By the way, it's really obvious. Why do you think they call it point slope form? They call it point slope form because you know a point and a slope, not specifically the y-intercept. So in review, we know when we're at different forms of linear equations, there's standard form, ax plus by equals c. And in that case, the slope is negative a over b. Remember, the a needs to be positive when we're in standard form. The x-intercept can be found by dividing c by a. The y-intercept can be found by dividing c by b. Slope y-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. The slope is m. It's the coefficient on x. The y-intercept is b. Point slope form, the new form we've learned today. We're in point slope form. We know a point, specifically the point x1, y1. And remember, when you go to put them in there, the points change. Excuse me, the coordinate signs change. If you have x minus 5, that means x sub 1 is a positive 5. If you have x plus 3, that means x sub 1 would be a negative 3. It all has to do with the double sign going on. You don't actually see the double sign, but that's what happened. The slope, of course, is the number in front of the quantity. All right, that's the lesson for today. It should be super simple, and there are rumors of a quiz for Friday. Good luck to you. Mr. Lawrence signing off.